Story 1. I start work at 8:30 a.m. and I wake up at 8:10 a.m. I also live on-site and work in building maintenance. I am 35 years old and I sleep in as late as I can. I get off at 4:30 p.m. So gym time is in the evening a few days a week if I feel like it. Story 2. Not me, brother. I did that for a while, but it just is not worth it. Sleep in the morning and work out after work. Story 3. I am not a morning person. I start work at 9 and get up at 8:30. I work at home. I work out at lunch or after work, depending on my schedule that day. I have a lot of noon meetings, which is irritating. I shower after working out. I have tried to get up early and exercise, but it is very difficult for me. I find after-work exercise great for burning off work frustration and easing into the evening. I am usually up until 1 a.m. If I go to bed earlier, I toss and turn all night. Story 4. I get up at 4 a.m., make coffee, clear out my inbox, prepare all of my wife's work materials so she can have an easy morning, then walk or bike to the beach to watch the sunrise. After that, I bike our son to school and return to work. So yes, I wake up at 4 a.m. and stay busy. Life is good. Story 5. About 5 to 6 years ago, I started waking up at 4:30 a.m. regardless of whether I actually wanted to or not. I decided to make the most of that time in the morning before everyone else woke up to work out. And that has been a massive game changer for me. Not only am I more consistent than at any other point in my life, I love the feeling that I have gotten more done by 7 a.m. than most people do all week. That really helps set a productive tone for the day. Sure, I am typically wiped out by 9:30 p.m., but that is when the kids go to bed anyway, so it works pretty well for my household. Story 6. Yes, you absolutely can. The key is pacing yourself at both work and the gym to avoid burnout, eating nutritious food, staying sober. For me, it is essential, and getting enough sleep. I go to bed at 8:30 to 9 p.m. and wake up at 4:30 a.m. to work out, then go on to work a blue-collar job. If I eat poorly or stay up too late, I start getting cranky. Balance is key. Story 7. I have done it for 2 years now. On Tuesday and Thursday, I get up at 4:45 and lift weights for an hour. Saturday is my third day of the week to lift, and I go once the rest of the family is settled into their morning routines. I have not missed a day since January. Lifting is one of my favorite activities, so I look forward to it. I probably do not get as much sleep as I should, around 6.5 hours a night, but it is worth it. I am a 40-year-old married man with a 10-year-old son. Story 8. I slowly stopped working out seriously when I had children. I also gradually stopped caring so much about my appearance and started focusing more on living a long, healthy life with my family. I am much more focused on my diet now and get exercise with my children because I still skateboard and go for bike rides. It helps that I have always done more physical jobs, so I burn plenty of calories throughout the day. Going to the gym took 1 or 2 hours of personal time that I could not prioritize anymore. When you only have an hour or two to yourself every day, you learn what is really important to you, such as spending time with my wife or playing video games. I try to involve my children in my hobbies like skating and fishing, so I can multitask and enjoy both hobbies and family time, although it is not always easy. Story 9. In college, I woke up at 4 a.m., walked 2 miles to the gym, and worked out until 7 a.m. I showered in the locker rooms and walked to the dining hall. After eating, I walked 2 miles to the news station where I directed. The news was from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Then I walked from the news station to the media building, where they held free lectures. I stayed there from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. I usually ate a protein bar during this time. I went to the dining hall again and ate from 3:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m., usually consuming 5 to 8 plates. From 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., I had classes. Afterward, I went to the dining hall one more time, packed a few to-go boxes with food, and went to my friends' dorms where we played Super Smash Bros. Until 10 p.m. Then I walked 2 miles home and slept from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m. and repeated the cycle. It was tough, but I felt very productive. Now I work for the nightly news and get home at midnight, so I sleep until 10 a.m. every day. Story 10. I get up at 4 a.m. for work until noon, take a nap, swim, make dinner, Put the child to bed, take a long walk, then wind down and go to bed. Story 11. Get up around 3:30 to 4 o'clock for the gym, work, and then go to bed between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock. Morning workouts have a unique impact and really set your day in motion. Story 12. I do not see how people maintain energy throughout the workday if they work out first thing in the morning. I have done the 4:30 a.m. workouts and found myself dragging by noon. Personally, I prefer early afternoon. Story 13. I get up at 4 every weekday and 5 on the weekends. During the week, the first thing I do is go to the gym and lift weights. If I don't do it first thing, it's not happening, so I stick with it. I actually love it. As someone else said, nothing is expected of me during these hours. I'm free to be in my own world until I get home to get the children off to school. Story 14. I am off work at 10:30 p.m. and expect to be back at 7 a.m. I do not think I could function if I had to wake up at 4 a.m. to work out. Story 15. I start every day at 3:30 a.m. That gives me time to work out, shower, and make breakfast before I get the kids up for school. I get to see them, make breakfast, and talk. When I get to work, I am ready for whatever the day throws at me. I head home, spend more time with the family, have dinner, and the household, teenager excluded, crashes around 8 p.m. I might stay up until 9 p.m. and watch something with my wife so we have a little time without the kids. Then I head to bed and repeat the next day. Story 16. I have my alone time first thing in the mornings for about an hour before I have to get ready for work. I spend hours at the gym after work and come home to my family to eat dinner and do some chores. Story 17. I will sometimes get up at 5 a.m. for a workout, but have to be back home by 6:15 a.m. I schedule the workouts around the rest of my life. Cannot be the other way around. Story 18. Switched out from years of night and afternoon work schedules. It was all the same shifting my sleep schedule to getting up at 4 a.m. as it was for 7 a.m. This way I can avoid the morning rush and go to work right after working out early. Fewer aggressive gym goers and social media wannabes clogging up the gym makes for a better workout. 10:30 p.m. That is now, is the latest time for staying up. Story 19. I get up at 5:15 to go to the gym before work. It takes me approximately 10 minutes one way to get there, so I am usually there by 5:45 a.m. I work out and stretch until 7 a.m. I leave for work by 8 a.m. I am in bed by 9:30 p.m., 10 p.m. at the latest. Story 20. Growing up, my dad had to wake up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock for work. He would go to work, get off around 5, go to the gym, work out for an hour, and be home for dinner at 6:30. I think it worked pretty well because before dinner, my sister and I were either playing or doing extracurricular activities. After dinner was family time, and everyone, including us kids after the age of 8, would go to bed at 9. When we were younger, our dad would put us to bed and read us a bedtime story around 7:30 or 8, depending on how old we were. Story 21. I am up at 4:30 a.m. 3 times a week, not counting weekend workouts. I manage pretty well, but I also do not have children. Story 22. That is never going to happen for me. I work out or run after my children go to bed. I would rather be overweight than wake up earlier than my job or my children require. Story 23. There is nothing virtuous about waking up at 4 a.m. to work out. 30 minutes of exercise per day is absolutely enough to be in great shape. You can do this at many times that do not interfere with your sleep. Story 24. I am up at 3:30 a.m. to go to work. I may start working out after work, but it is hard to find motivation after working a 12-hour shift and being up that early. Story 25. At this current moment, I'm working from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., 4 days on and 2 days off. I wake up between 3:30 and 4:30 a.m. every day, get ready, and leave at 5:30 a.m. My fiancée is pregnant, so when I get home at about 7:30 p.m., I either have to pick up my roommate until she is stable or I stay home tending to my future wife and spending time with her until 11 p.m. to midnight. Then I sleep. On my days off, I wake up at 9 a.m., though I want to start waking up earlier to do more for myself. I clean, spend time with my partner, play video games, or go out to eat. I try to work out at work with aerobic exercises, and on my days off, I try to work out at the gym. However, with all the appointments, I'm usually tired by 5 p.m. on my day off, but try to stay awake to spend more time with her. If anyone was wondering, we're having a boy. Story 26. I have work at 7. I wake up around 3:30, go to the gym by 4:10, and then work until 2:30. It is not as busy at this time of day. You go and no one needs you for anything. Story 27. I get up at 5 a.m. I go to the gym from 5:30 to 6:30. I shower and get my daughter up at 7, and we leave the house at 8. I go in the morning so I can spend time with my daughter and make dinner in the evening. I am a single father, so having and sticking to a schedule is key to fitting in everything I want. Story 28. I used to go to the gym at around 5:30 a.m. because of my work schedule. It was nice and quiet at that time. Now I have 2 children and a career. I go on walks a few times a week, ride a bike sometimes, and do short, basic lifts when I get gym time once or twice a week. Most mature adults realize they can eat decently healthy and do natural cardiovascular exercise that fits their lives without wasting hours a week away from their children. I will never get that time back. They are young once. Big muscles are no longer the goal. Time with them is. Story 29. I had to do it for several years because of work I did at the time. It forced me to get up early and have a strict routine that gave me a lot more time and alone time to be more productive. But I found I had to go to sleep by 9:30 to keep going, and on weekends I still woke up early because I did not want to lose my rhythm for the weekdays. Also, you become very strict with time management and guard your spare time jealously, which does not allow for too much hanging out, going to sleep late, or any spontaneity really. There is a trade-off. Story 30. Honestly, I work out 4 times a week and try to eat healthy about the same number of times. I am not shredded, but I have a 4-pack. I spend the rest of the time with family and friends. Story 31. I did it for a while. Took a lot to get used to, but it was well worth it. People there in the morning are more serious, and I gained a clear head at the beginning of the day instead of warming up with a coffee. Story 32. Right here. I get up, prepare my kids' lunches, and do other tasks depending on the day. I also start work at 6, so I am up early anyway. Story 33. You cannot ask this without asking what time they go to bed. Asleep by 9 o'clock in the evening, getting up at 4:30 in the morning is 7.5 hours. Easily doable. Story 34. I work out after putting the children to bed, starting within the 8 o'clock hour and usually work out for about 75 minutes. There is plenty of time after that to spend with my wife or by myself. I wake up when the children do, usually around 7 a.m. Story 35. I try to work out every day. I sit at a desk all day, so I need that hour of movement. I go crazy without exercise, so I really need to do it. Exercise solves 80% of your problems in your 20s to 40s. Story 36. Having a home gym makes this much more attainable. An 8 by 8 foot space and a $1,500 to $2,000 investment in time, access, and health. With that said, I have never worked out at 4 or 5 in the morning. It's either at 3:30 p.m. or 8:30 p.m. Story 37. I work from 5 p.m. to 5 a.m., so on lifting days, it is right after work. On days off, I am up between 4 and 5 a.m. to do everything except deadlifts, as I would wake the whole house. Honestly, I am fine and much more productive completing my lifts earlier in the day. Story 38. I only get gym time because I work seasonally and have a few months off. I cannot imagine having the energy to do a 9 to 5, spend time with family, and go to the gym. Story 39. Before my gym closed, I could get up at 4 o'clock, work out, go home, and be there when my child woke up. It was awesome. I got my workout done, saw my child, then went to work. When I got home, I could relax and focus on them. They went to sleep early enough for me to have time afterward to take care of myself and go to sleep so I could do it again. For me, it was easy, and I missed that. Story 40. I usually find an hour or so about every other day. However, the time of day that hour occurs tends to vary. On the days I cannot find that hour or two to go, I skip the sugar in my coffee. This seems to work well enough that getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning would not make enough of a difference to be worth it. Story 41. Yes, the best time for me personally. It was hard at first, but if I work out late at night, I stay up too long. Story 42. I did that when I was 25 and single. There is no chance I would do that at 41 and with 3 children. I have somehow managed to maintain being the top performer in my company while running and cycling during work hours a few times per week. I am not training a lot, but it is as much as anyone could hope for being this busy. Weekends are unpredictable as to whether I can get out for a run or ride. Obviously, I prioritize work, so some weeks I am not able to get out during the day. It is a bit frustrating to be stuck maintaining and not progressing the way I would if I had another 2 hours per week. When I got back into it a couple of years ago, I went hard, and my family did not like it much. Sleep is too important for these goals, so I see getting up at 4 a.m. as counterproductive. Story 43. What type of workout requires you to get up at 4? I know people who wake up early for workouts, but it is usually at 5 or 6 depending on when they work. 4 seems a bit extreme to me. Story 44. I get up at 3:45. Work is fine, family life is fine. I am in bed by 8:30 and asleep by 9:30. Working from home is important. Story 45. Our house is messy beyond most people's tolerance, but otherwise, there is exercise before work, a good career, and a family that talks to each other. Something had to give, and it was the chores. Story 46. I have been getting up at 4:30 a.m. or trying to be at the gym a little before 6 a.m. I do not feel comfortable driving immediately after waking up, so I give myself at least an hour to wake up. I have a physically demanding job, so some weeks I do not go to the gym every day before work. However, I typically go on Saturday and Sunday without fail. I do not have any family to speak of, so I guess that makes it easier. Story 47. I am up at 2:40 a.m., at the gym by 3 a.m., finish at 4 p.m., and home by approximately 4:40 p.m. Depending on the day, I may do 3 to 5 miles before settling down for dinner, television, and gaming. I do not have to worry about family dynamics. My social life exists on weekends or on evenings I have off. Story 48. I used to work in security where I had to get up at 4 a.m. to be there by 6 a.m. I will never do that again because I was always a walking zombie by the end of my shift at 2 p.m. Story 49. Waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning on weekdays works really well for me. I get work done in the morning and also accomplish some learning outside of my usual work. Most days are filled with many meetings, which makes productivity difficult. I leave the evening for a nice workout. Story 50. I usually get up about 5:30 a.m. The kids get up an hour later. We get ready and leave the house by 7. I drop them off, then go to the gym or for a swim. I do some work for a couple of hours after that and then play 18 holes of golf. I pick them up from school at 4 p.m. So, not really 4 a.m. starts, but early enough in the morning to get some exercise. Including walking at the golf course, that is 9 hours of physical activity. Story 51. 4 a.m. seems a bit much unless you are sleeping early. I typically get up around 5 a.m. I like it because I get it out of the way in the morning and can do whatever I want afterward. Unless you work early in the morning, I cannot comprehend working out in the evening. Story 52. I work 12-hour shifts and have to leave the house at 6 o'clock. My workouts take about 2 hours. So, I need to eat first because I never exercise on an empty stomach, then allow an hour for digestion, followed by my 2-hour workout, and then 30 minutes to shower and get ready for work. Do you think I can get up at 3:30 a.m., work out, complete a 12-hour shift at a physically demanding job where I am on my feet for about 11 hours and still be able to function? Maybe if I were the Terminator. As it stands, I have at least 4 days off a week. That is good enough for me at the moment to achieve the gains I am aiming for. Story 53. Unless you are going to bed really early and getting all your hours of sleep, this is not healthy. I wake up feeling like I need another 2 hours of sleep to feel rested. Story 54. I do not wake up at 4 a.m. but try to work out before bathing and going to the office, even though it means I have to arrive 2 hours later than the official office time. I have flexible work hours and never work overtime. Story 55. I get up at 4:45 every morning and leave home at 6 a.m. I take a shower first thing because it helps me wake up. Then I make my lunch while my breakfast is heating up. I sit down and enjoy breakfast. After that, I take my blood pressure every morning right before I leave home for work. My work is construction. I own my own floor covering business with 2 full-time employees. This July will mark 20 years of being self-employed. I wake up early to make sure we have everything needed to complete the jobs for the day. I work 10 to 12 hours of manual physical labor. About 4 years ago, I developed high blood pressure and borderline diabetes. Diabetes runs in my family. Both my mother and father had it. My mother died 6 years ago from complications of her diabetes. My doctor suggested I make some changes in my diet and start exercising more, even though my job is physically demanding. That was not enough. Now I go to the gym about 4 to 5 times a week. After work, I go to the gym instead of sitting in traffic for over an hour. Because I travel for work, going to the gym works best for me to avoid traffic delays. If I had the time, I would go to the gym first thing in the morning because my body is used to getting up around 4:30. I have been waking up at this time since I was young. My father did the same job and taught me much of what I know about the flooring trade. We were always early risers. Now, I prefer to work out after I get off work. Story 56. There is no magic in working out super early in the morning. Exercise whenever it is convenient for you. Do not decrease your sleep just to exercise because sleep and rest are more important. Story 57. Why do you have to work out at 4 a.m.? A good workout is around 45 minutes, and you can fit it in any time during the 24 hours that suits you. Also, if you are not really an early morning person, your workouts will not be at their maximum. Story 58. I was up and at the gym by 5 every morning until I started working for myself. Now I go to the gym at 11 because I have the time and it is less busy. Still up at 4:30 every morning though because I love mornings. Story 59. I wake up at that time to commute an hour to my gym on campus. It is the least crowded compared to peak times and allows me to efficiently get some physical activity and give my body a performance boost for the day. After a nice shower, it is still early and not many people are awake, giving me the confidence and advantage that I am getting much more work done. Some people ask me how and why I do it, then say that could never be their schedule. I like to think they are missing out on the opportunity to really improve their lifestyle and productivity. Story 60. No, I just put my gym bag in the car and work out before I come home. You do not have to wake up at 4 a.m. to achieve goals. Story 61. I get up at 5 a.m. to walk a few miles with my dog, do chores, and swim or go to the gym before work. I have a maid and an excellent assistant at work, but if I didn't carve out 3.5 hours every morning, I would always be busy in the evening and on weekends. I have a large breed dog, so the morning walk is non-negotiable. Once it becomes a routine, it is fun, not hard. I hate sleeping in unless I am on vacation because my body just wakes up. Story 62. You do not need to do that to stay fit. Instead, focus on designing how you move so everything you do is exercise. Need to bend over to get something? Squat instead. Walking a lot? Go full ministry of silly walks. Standing around? Do horse stance. Carrying things? Isolate specific arm muscles with each load. This will not get you ripped, but once you get used to it, it will make being fit effortless. Use your entire daily life as your gym. Story 63. I barely roll out of bed in time for work. Work out a couple of times a month. Am divorced and have a wonderful daughter who is with me over half the time. I am happy. Take what you will from that. Story 64. Morning people who love bragging about being up early fail to consider the circadian rhythm. Try asking them to drive without coffee at 2 a.m. and see if they can do it. Story 65. Dude, you lost me at 4 a.m. I have never seen those numbers on the clock outside the military, intercontinental travel, or bouts of insomnia. Just nope. Story 66. Medically retired, up at 5 a.m. for the gym by 6. Down 70 pounds since September. I walk 3/4 of a mile a day with my dog. do 45 minutes of strength training 5 days a week, and 30 minutes on the treadmill every other day I am there. Story 67. I work out at 8:30 a.m. I work nights, so I go straight to the gym after work. It is great. It is just me and the retirees. I never wait for any machines or weights. I always park next to the front door. One of the few perks of the night shift. Story 68. Depending on my life situations, I have done this. Only time for personal time. It is 4:07 right now and I am up. Story 69. I am. For now. As I post this, it's before 4:30 a.m. and I'm leaving for the pool in 5 minutes. I have 4 triathlons and 8 trail races on the calendar this summer. Here's how I got buy-in in the first place. 1. My teenage son is a runner. He is also signed up for the trail races and likes to go to my triathlons to help out. So this is good quality time. I was 50 pounds overweight, and my wife was starting to worry about my health. I told her I'd love to work out more, but it simply didn't fit in our family schedule. If I had very few kid responsibilities in the mornings, I start work at 6:30 a.m. She doesn't work until 9 a.m., so she takes breakfast and gets the kids out of bed while I take the afternoons, dinner, homework, and so on. And I could reserve my lunch breaks for myself instead of running family errands. I would make it happen. The positives are that I have lost 25 pounds and I am in better shape than I have been in 10 years. The bad news is I am tired a lot. I have always been a guy who requires very little sleep, so me wanting to be in bed before 10 p.m. has been an adjustment for my wife. The key to success has been not to be super rigid. Every couple of weeks, there is a day when my alarm goes off at 3:55 a.m., and I get up, use the bathroom, and think, nope, today I need more sleep, and go back to bed. That used to feel like a failure, but now at 40, I'm self-aware enough to know that I'm never winning these races anyway. Missing 2 or 3 training sessions each month to keep myself sane and avoid falling asleep at the wheel is the right thing to do. Story 70. Posting this now from the toilet after my 4 a.m. run. It is difficult at first, but like everything else, it will become routine. The real secret is going to bed on time. I am usually in bed by 8:30. Story 71. I get up at 5 a.m. so I can have a cup of coffee and work out before I start getting myself and the children ready for work and school. It is the only way I have found to consistently fit in a workout. If I try to do it in the evening, it gets skipped too often because I am too tired or something comes up at the last minute. Story 72. Doing this was easier before my gym changed its hours. I still do this 3 to 4 times per week though. I try to spend about an hour in resistance training and an hour in cardio. Then I do not have to worry about doing it after work and can do all the normal family activities. Story 73. Never did this and you do not need to. Work out in the afternoon or evening. It is essential self-care. Story 74. Working out is not effective without sufficient sleep. Exercising intensely requires additional rest. Waking up at 4 a.m. to exercise is unwise with standard working hours and a typical social life. Story 75. Not me. Tried it, absolutely hated it. Getting up around 8 a.m. after sleeping at midnight and going to work. Trying to get in as many steps as possible during the day. Workouts after 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. when work is done. Dinner and then the rest of the steps to reach approximately 12,000. Story 76. Up at 4:34 times per week for the gym. I also go to bed by 9:30 or so. Work all day and it is fine. Avoid alcohol and unproductive activities during the week. It is all about budgeting time and how you want to spend it. On non-gym days, I may sleep until 6 or so. Story 77. I wake up at 5 a.m. to work out. 2 days on, 1 day off. I usually log in between 7:30 and 8 o'clock. It helps that I work from home. I have been doing that for the last 3 years. I did not like myself after COVID-19 and decided to change. Story 78. You are on the internet asking people who have healthy exercise habits, work, and family dynamics. Oh, honey, sweet innocent child. Story 79. I've been doing the 4 a.m. workout routine for 6 months now. Honestly, I am exhausted. My children think I am crazy, and my husband keeps telling me I am grumpy by 8 p.m. Sure. My abdominal muscles look better, but I have fallen asleep during 3 different Zoom meetings this month. Story 80. I wake up at 4:15 for cardio every weekday. I usually ruck 4 miles. It is one of the best parts of the day. I go with a friend, so I get some quality time to talk about life, work, and family. I am back by 5:45, then have breakfast, shower, and arrive at the office by 7. I do weight training after work 4 days a week. Then my evenings are free for family and relaxation. Story 81. I only get up at 5 to work out. Does that count? I find that it gives me much more energy throughout the day. Plus, it is the only time I have with the life I have to juggle. Story 82. It is 5:32 a.m. and I just got back from the gym. My condominium building has a 2-story gym, so it is very convenient with no travel time. I find that completing my workout first thing actually improves my ability to tackle everything else I have to do throughout the day. Story 83. No, I work out after work. I already get up at 5 a.m. to be ready for my job at 7 a.m. There is no way I am getting up any earlier. Story 84. 4:30 is early. I have no interest in going to bed when it is still light outside. You need at least 7 hours of sleep, but 8 is ideal. I am not going to bed at 8:30 p.m. Story 85. I wake up 2 hours before my workday just to relax for a little while. Between nursing classes and working full-time, I barely have time for myself. Those 2 hours truly energize me for the day. Story 86. You people are all losers. I do not even sleep. Beat that. I have completed tasks years ahead of schedule. Story 87. Do not do it unless you need to. If you work a 9-to-5 job, you will need to, or if you are in school. But if you are self-employed, retired, or in college, just wake up naturally and go to bed before midnight. If you want to do this, I am the right person. You will need to choose between having a social life and having good sleep. You cannot have both. The wake-up time needs to be 7 days a week with little to no exceptions. Make sure you place your phone on the other side of the room. Set an alarm and a timer that will go off 10 seconds later. Once you are up, turn on your lights, then turn off the alarm. No matter what, do not sit down and do not scroll. You need to do something physical within 15 minutes, anywhere between walking and climbing a mountain. Just get the blood flowing to wake yourself up. If you are in a rush, just take a cold shower. Go to bed at the same time every night, but accept that sometimes you will just need to push through after a late night. Story 88. I used to get up at 4:45 a.m. and go to the gym before work when my children were little. It worked out better because children sleep a lot and go to bed early. I usually did not see my children in the morning before work, so working out in the morning allowed me to spend more time with them in the evening. I would put the children to bed and still have an hour or so of alone time with my wife before we went to bed. Story 89. Not me. I am up at 4 a.m. to change a diaper, bring the baby to my wife to breastfeed him, then put the baby back to sleep, and then I go back to sleep. Story 90. My 2-year-old has been a difficult sleeper. I have scaled back from 6 days a week in the gym to 3 for my and my family's sanity. I go at 5:30 a.m. and do my best with whatever energy I have. Some days are good. Some days are not. I just take what the day gives me. I mostly do full body sessions, working to failure or close to failure, and it has actually been working out really well for me. I think the rest between sessions has been great for my recovery, and I am not noticing a significant drop in terms of strength or appearance. Story 91. When it is my week to get up with the baby, I get to the gym at 7:30 and only work out for 45 minutes. When it is my wife's week, I get to the gym by 6 and can go 60 to 75 minutes. If I am not out of the house by 7:30, I skip that day and try again the next day. My child is 10 months old, so I know that this uncertainty of getting exercise is temporary. However, my gym time is one of the first things sacrificed if I am running low on time. Story 92. I work 28 hours a week, get up about 6 a.m., and go home at about 2:15 p.m. Everyone praising this excessive productivity game is not genuine. I am sure some people do it, but most just watch videos about it. Story 93. It is 5 a.m. here. It is tough but worth it. Today is Monday and I worked out my legs. Then I came home and bottle fed the newborn, got the toddler up, and washed his sheets because he wet the bed. I fed him, welcomed the nanny, took a shower, and now I am sitting down to start my working day. Waking up was difficult, but now I feel ready to tackle the week and let my wife sleep in a bit so I can spend some quality time with her later. Story 94, 60-plus-year-old man here. About 10 years ago, I discovered that 6 hours is the longest I can comfortably lie in bed. I get up by 3:30 every day, weekdays and weekends, vacation or work days, and have a coffee. 6 days a week. I am in the pool by 5 o'clock and spend about 90 minutes swimming. Build the habit now, and your 60-year-old self will thank you. Story 95. I get up at 4 a.m. during the week to complete my gym session and have quiet time. This helps me focus without distractions, so I can give my family my full attention later. Story 96. I tried that several years ago, but it did not work for me because I was falling asleep at 7 to 8 p.m. My children were not even in bed yet, and I was sound asleep sitting up. Story 97. I wake up at 5 a.m., have coffee and breakfast, relax with my cat, and play some video games. Then, I work out around 7 a.m. since I don't start work until 10 a.m. My family and work life have both improved since I started this routine. I get back from work around 7 p.m. and sleep by 9:30 or 10 p.m., so I get to see my son for a bit and have dinner with my wife, watch television for 30 to 45 minutes, and then fall asleep. On Fridays and weekends, I sleep around 11 p.m. or midnight to spend more time with my wife. I wake up between 6:30 and 7:30 a.m. on weekends, then get my son from his crib, and we hang out while she sleeps in. This routine seems to work well for everyone. Story 98. I wake up at 5:30 a.m. every morning for an uninterrupted morning routine. After the bladder is emptied, I get dressed in my workout clothes, get the children up and out the door for school, then go to my home gym to work out for 45 minutes to an hour. The days of working out at night are long gone because it is exhausting by that time. I prefer to go to bed at a reasonable hour so I can wake up early and do it all over again. Story 99. Not exactly, but I get up at 5 a.m. to work out. I am a morning person, so it is not too bad. Ideally, 6 a.m. would be my preferred time to wake up and work out, but I cannot swing that. I am fine throughout the day. I fall asleep the second my head hits the pillow, though. Story 100. Every morning for the last 15 years, I wake up at 3:30, drink coffee, go to the gym, shower, and head to the office. I do not sleep past 4:30 on the weekends, so I get a slightly later start but also enjoy a longer workout with half an hour to relax in the steam room. Story 101. Started this routine after my divorce as a way to cope. Turning up at the gym at 4 a.m. while emotionally exhausted is not sustainable. Now I work out at 5:30 p.m. and actually enjoy it. Story 102. Wake up at 3:30 a.m., go for a 1.5-mile walk, then swim, bike, lift weights, use the rowing machine, or box. Take 1 day off per week but still do the walk. Story 103. I have long been a defiant night owl, even in my elementary days. I had frequent insomnia during the school year, so when I could, I would stay up until the early hours, sometimes even dawn. I don't think it's genetic. It seems likely to be a learned behavior, as my parents and grandparents were night owls. For months, I have been making an effort to be up by 6 a.m., trading later nights for earlier mornings. I appreciate being able to actually wake up, have coffee, read the news, and take my time. Some nights I have gone to bed early enough to get up by 5 a.m., which is great when I want to get a quick workout in before the day begins. It doesn't always work. Sometimes I find myself hitting snooze until close to 7 a.m. Some mornings go slow, while others seem to breeze by no matter how early I wake. However, there have been many mornings when I have woken up naturally about 5 minutes before my 6 a.m. alarm. It is an adjustment, but unless you have a particular dislike for the morning, you too can trade your late nights for early mornings. Story 104. I get up at 5 a.m. every morning. Half the time, I go to the gym on assigned days. It has been a brutal habit to form, and honestly, Pre-workout supplements have been my crutch. However, I now wake up almost every day at 5 a.m. before my alarm goes off. It is tough, and I get more tired at night, but it has been worth it. Story 105. I used to do this 6 to 7 days a week in college. That environment was generally conducive to such schedules. Now, I work a rotating shift, so my ability to work out depends heavily on my work schedule and energy levels. I still enjoy going to the gym, but I find that I need to prioritize quality sleep first and foremost. For that reason, the gym has taken a bit of a back seat. I hope to move away from this type of schedule one day so I can return to pursuing my fitness goals. Story 106. I get up at 5:30 a.m. I work out from 6 to 6:45 a.m. Monday to Friday. It is the only time I can work out, so it pays off well. It is my me time. It feels weird when I do not take that time. Story 107. How old are your children? This is easier to do when they are younger and in bed by 7:30 or 8 o'clock. Easier because none of this is truly easy. When they get older, their activities will be later in the evening. My children had practices that did not start until after 8 o'clock in the evening when they were teenagers. Then we still had homework and other tasks to help with. It was not uncommon for me to be up until 11 p.m. or later. There was no way I was getting up at 4 a.m. then. There was a period when I would work out at 11 p.m., be home by 12:30 a.m., and asleep by 1 a.m. Then I would sleep 6 hours and get ready for work. Story 108. I am up at 4 every day for work, but I am out by 2. This gives me plenty of time to work out 6 days a week, do chores and house upkeep, hang out with my wife, and make dinner 4 to 5 nights a week. I also have plenty of time for relaxing and usually am asleep by 9:15. Story 109. I have been on the 4 a.m. plan or some variant of that for my entire adult life. It is the only time that works for me. Story 110. Home gym. I work out while my kids play on their own workout equipment, such as swings and monkey bars, after work. Then I do cardio as soon as they go to bed and my wife is taking her bath. 4 years of army workouts at 6 a.m. killed my drive to wake up early and start exercising. Story 111. I did it for years. It was worth it. I do not know now because my schedule is all over. I woke up at 4:30 just to make it to work. I will get home at 2 and have to be back at work at 1 a.m. The last 3 to 6 months have been wild. Story 112. I wake up at 5 a.m. Monday through Saturday to work out and make the most of the day. On Sunday, I am up by 7 a.m. Story 113. 5 o'clock to 5:30 a.m. wake up for me. I'm not Jocko Willink, never will be Jocko Willink, so a 4 a.m. wake up is just a bridge too far. Story 114. My favorite time at the gym is 9 p.m. because barely anyone is there. I just put my headphones in and lift. Not everyone is a morning person. The 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. after-work hours are always excessively crowded. Story 115. Not me. 8 o'clock in the evening and a large bowl turns out to be the sweet spot for me. Early morning workouts are great if that works for you, but I get very stressed throughout the day, and it is nice to be able to force my muscles to relax after work. Story 116. Male, 43 years old. I get up at 4:15 a.m. every day for work. Sometimes I set my alarm back to 4:30 a.m. if I go to bed later than I'd like, around 8:30 p.m. But for the most part, assuming I've gone to sleep at a normal time, I'm up before the 4:15 a.m. alarm anyway, so the 4:30 a.m. alarm is mostly unnecessary. I wake up, do the Wordle and mini crossword on the New York Times app, have my coffee, pack my lunch, and then head out the door. I get home around 3 p.m., kids off the bus at 3:30 p.m., and I am in the gym by 4 p.m., like clockwork. I work out with heavy weights for 60 to 90 minutes a day. If the weather is nice, I try to get a half-hour walk in around my neighborhood. By 6 p.m., I usually have to start dinner. My kids know when I work out. It has just become a part of the day. They might come and talk to me or ask about whatever, but for the most part that time is mine. That is important because some days are very stressful, and I can be difficult if I am not left alone to decompress. My wife and I share household responsibilities. I do the dishes and clean the kitchen daily. We split laundry. She mops floors while I sweep them. I typically take care of the bathrooms and the pool, or do the heavy lifting for projects or repairs. There might be some imbalances going both ways in the workload, but when the imbalance is against me, I rarely notice because my sex life is very good. I think that is probably key, to be honest. Call me whatever you like, but as long as I can do my gym time and have sex daily, I will scrub the floors with a toothbrush and a smile. Story 117. I will go out on a limb here and guess close to zero. No one I know or know of does this. The only person I am aware of is that man on Instagram who dips his face in ice water each time he writes a line in his journal. Also, to get up at 4 a.m., you need to be in bed by 8 p.m. to get 8 hours of sleep. My wife would absolutely love it if I came home from work, had dinner, and went straight to bed. I would be single in 90 days. Story 118. I am going to be honest. I have never known anyone to be awake at 4 a.m. except for me occasionally when I randomly wake up at that time and stare at the ceiling for about 2 hours trying to fall asleep again. Story 119. I just can't get up that early to work out. My body needs much more warm-up at that time of day. I am still low energy, and my workout will not be nearly as intense or effective. Plus, I generally do not sleep well, so I need the hours I can get. I much prefer late night after the children go to sleep. I need that unplugged time from work. Story 120. I used to do this, but I value my sleep. I have to leave for work at 5:45 a.m. to get a good parking spot. I work at a large hospital. Story 121. I get up at 4:40 a.m., go to the gym from 5 to 6, head to work until 3 p.m., do a quick cardio session after work to finish out the day, and get home by 5:30 p.m. I go to bed between 9 and 11 p.m. I am single with no children, so I have far less responsibility than many people. Story 122. 4 a.m. is really early. I would say you probably need to go to bed at 9 o'clock, which might be okay. Story 123. No, I go in after work. I tried going early in the morning, but I feel like I am just going through the motions and not improving. Story 124. I tried it for a few weeks. I always felt terrible, like I wanted to vomit after my workout. Social and family activities were not an issue. Morning workouts are just not for me. Story 125. I am single and have no children. Therefore, I do not have to wake up at 4 a.m. to exercise. I can do that at a reasonable hour instead. Story 126. Working out before work and working out after work both require discipline and are equally tough. You can make excuses not to do either, but as long as you do one, you are golden. It just depends on whether you value a couple of extra hours of sleep or do not mind sacrificing an hour after work. To me, sleep is very important, and I like to get as much as I can. I work out after work. Story 127. I tried, but I couldn't adjust. A 4 to 4:30 workout, then leave by 5 a.m. for an hour commute. I would be tired by 9 a.m. if work was slow. Driving home in the afternoon became dangerous. I was nodding off driving. I am thankful for adaptive cruise control. If the evenings were busy, I could stay awake. Quiet evenings involved nodding off again. Story 128. I work from home 3 days a week, so I wake up early on those days. I take a long lunch and go to the gym when it is empty, except for a few senior ladies walking on the track. Then I am active on the weekends, and that seems to be enough. Story 129. I am not. I also work in luxury real estate development for multimillionaires. None of these people wake up at that time either. Story 130. Nope. Too broken for working out in the morning. I work out after my wife and children are asleep, usually from 9 to 10 p.m. for 1 to 1.5 hours. I only started doing this 3 months ago after 5 years off. Feels great. I wake up between 6 and 7 a.m. with my wife and children. Story 131. I work out after work. I like to think I have decent discipline, but going for a run before work is not in the cards for me most days. Story 132. I get up at 5 a.m. now and have been doing that or earlier for 10 years. I am 46 now, and when I started working out 10 years ago, My 3 kids were 7, 5, and 2. I still have my wife and 3 kids, with the oldest heading off to college in the fall. In all honesty, if I had not gotten into the routine 10 years ago, things may not have been so healthy through the years. Story 133. I walk at 4 a.m., then go back to bed for an hour and a half and get ready for work. I do weight training at home in the evenings. Story 134. I am not a man, but I have been on this workout routine for at least 10 years. It not only gives me a sense of accomplishment, but it also calms me for the day. It makes me much more energetic and productive. If there is something on television that I really want to watch, it goes on my DVR. I am asleep before 8 p.m., even on days off. On weekends, I still get up and work out at that time. It just makes me feel mentally on top of things besides being physically fit. Story 135. I cannot do mornings. I usually end up working out after everyone else in the house is asleep. Sometimes my workout is from midnight to 1 o'clock in the morning. Story 136. I have found it does not matter what crazy schedule people have. It usually evens out. You get up at 3 a.m. to get a start on the day when everyone else is sleeping in. Want to play basketball after work? No? You cannot because you go to bed by 7 p.m., so you can get up at 3 a.m. and not be lazy like the rest of us. Story 137. I wake up at 4:30 to do homework and workout. I feel great and usually do not have to take time away from my family. Story 138. I have been doing that for the past month, and it has made a wonderful difference in my life. The only downside is that I go to sleep at or before 8 p.m. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.